Most often, happiness eludes those who chase it most desperately. This is the great paradox that has puzzled philosophers and ordinary people alike for centuries. We all want to be happy, yet the harder we try to grasp it, the more it slips through our fingers. The ancient Stoics understood this paradox deeply and offered profound insights on how to navigate it. They realized that true contentment comes not from relentlessly pursuing pleasure, but from cultivating virtue, wisdom, and inner peace. Next are the 14 key Stoic principles that demonstrate the truth about the happiness paradox, principles that have the blueprint of a better path towards a fulfilling life. First and foremost, understand that the more you chase happiness, the further it goes. Happiness is like a butterfly. The more you chase it, the more it eludes you. This core aspect of the happiness paradox was well understood by Stoic philosophers. They recognized that actively pursuing happiness often leads to frustration and disappointment. When we make happiness our primary goal, we're always focused on what we lack. This creates a constant state of dissatisfaction, as we're never quite where we want to be. It's like trying to catch your own shadow. The faster you run, the faster it flees. Epictetus, a prominent Stoic philosopher, said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This captures the Stoic approach to happiness. Instead of chasing after an elusive emotional state, they advocated for finding contentment in the present moment and in living virtuously. By shifting our focus from pursuing happiness to living well, we paradoxically create the conditions for genuine contentment to arise. This approach frees us from the exhausting chase and allows us to find joy in the process of living, rather than constantly deferring it to some imagined future state. 2. The less you become familiar with failure, the more it will deeply affect you. In our success-oriented culture, failure is often seen as something to be avoided at all costs. But Stoics understood that this fear of failure can actually make us more vulnerable to its effects. The less we experience and learn from failure, the more devastating it becomes when we inevitably encounter it. Seneca, another influential Stoic, wrote, "I judge you unfortunate because you have never lived through misfortune. You have passed through life without an opponent. No one can ever know what you are capable of, not even you." This highlights the Stoic view that adversity and failure are not just inevitable, but valuable teachers. By sheltering ourselves from failure, we miss out on opportunities for growth and resilience. We become brittle, unable to cope with setbacks when they occur. This contributes to the happiness paradox. Our efforts to avoid negative experiences actually make us more susceptible to unhappiness when we face challenges. Embracing failure as a natural part of life allows us to learn, adapt, and become stronger. It helps us develop a more realistic perspective and reduces the sting when things don't go as planned. This resilience is key to maintaining equanimity and finding contentment amidst life's ups and downs. 3. Those who learn to enjoy uncertainty are likely to be happier. Uncertainty is a fundamental aspect of human existence, yet many of us expend enormous energy trying to eliminate it from our lives. The Stoics recognize that this struggle against uncertainty is often futile and can lead to increased anxiety and dissatisfaction. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, advised, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This encapsulates the Stoic approach to uncertainty. Instead of trying to control every aspect of our lives, we can learn to find peace amidst unpredictability. Learning to enjoy uncertainty doesn't mean being reckless or unprepared. Rather, it's about developing a mindset that can adapt to changing circumstances. It's recognizing that uncertainty often brings opportunity alongside risk. By embracing the unknown, we open ourselves to new experiences and possibilities. This approach to uncertainty can lead to greater happiness because it frees us from the constant anxiety of trying to predict and control the future. We learn to find excitement in the unfolding of events rather than fear. This shift in perspective allows us to engage more fully with life as it is, rather than as we think it should be. 4. The constant efforts to eliminate the negative, insecurity, uncertainty, failure, or sadness makes you feel so insecure, anxious, uncertain, or unhappy. There's a cruel irony in our attempts to banish negative emotions and experiences from our lives. The more we try to eliminate these aspects of human existence, the more prominent happiness paradox that Stoic philosophy addresses. Epictetus observed, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This insight reveals that our struggle against negative experiences often causes more suffering than the experiences themselves. By constantly trying to avoid insecurity, uncertainty, failure, or sadness, we paradoxically amplify these feelings. Our efforts to eliminate the negative often stem from a belief that we should always feel happy and secure. This unrealistic expectation sets us up for disappointment and increases our anxiety when we inevitably encounter challenges. We become hypersensitive to any hint of discomfort, interpreting it as a personal failure. Stoicism offers a different approach. Instead of trying to eliminate negative experiences, it advocates for accepting them as natural parts of life. By doing so, we can reduce their power over us and develop the resilience to navigate them more effectively. This acceptance doesn't mean resignation, but rather a clear-eyed engagement with reality as it is, not as we wish it to be. 5. Not learning to value death makes people saddened by it. Death is perhaps the ultimate source of human anxiety, yet Stoic philosophy suggests that our fear of death often diminishes our ability to fully live. By not learning to value and accept death as a natural part of existence, we paradoxically reduce our capacity for happiness and fulfillment. Seneca wrote, "He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man." This powerful statement encapsulates the Stoic view that our fear of death can paralyze us, preventing us from fully engaging with life. By constantly trying to avoid thoughts of our mortality, we may miss out on the very experiences that make life meaningful. Learning to value death doesn't mean welcoming it prematurely or being morbid. Rather, it's about recognizing the finite nature of our existence and using that awareness to prioritize what truly matters. The Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering that we are mortal, was intended to sharpen our appreciation for life and maintain perspective on our daily concerns. By confronting our mortality, we can paradoxically increase our joy in living. We become more present, more appreciative of each moment, and more motivated to live according to our deepest values. This shift in perspective can free us from trivial worries and allow us to focus on what truly brings fulfillment. 6. The pursuit of pleasure often leads to pain. Hedonism, the belief that pleasure is the highest good, seems like a straightforward path to happiness. Yet, as the Stoics understood, single-minded pursuit of pleasure often leads to its opposite. This paradox is at the heart of many of our struggles with happiness. Epictetus noted, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This Stoic principle highlights how the constant chase for more pleasure can blind us to the joys already present in our lives. We become trapped in a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. The pursuit of pleasure often involves avoiding all discomfort, which can lead to a fragile state of mind. We become less resilient, less able to cope with inevitable challenges. Moreover, many pleasures, when pursued to excess, turn into sources of pain. Think of overeating, excessive drinking, or any addiction. Instead of making pleasure our primary goal, Stoicism advocates for finding satisfaction in living virtuously and contributing to the greater good. This approach doesn't deny pleasure, but sees it as a byproduct of a well-lived life rather than its central aim. By shifting our focus, we can find a more sustainable and meaningful form of happiness. 7. Negative visualization can increase happiness. It might seem counterintuitive, but regularly imagining worst-case scenarios can actually boost our happiness. This Stoic practice, known as negative visualization, helps us appreciate what we have and prepares us for life's challenges. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" This exercise in voluntary discomfort helps put our fears in perspective and increases our gratitude for what we often take for granted. By contemplating potential losses, our health, loved ones, possessions, we break through the fog of familiarity that often obscures the value of what we have. This practice doesn't make us pessimistic. Rather, it heightens our appreciation for the present moment and also strengthens our resilience. By mentally preparing for difficulties, we're less likely to be blindsided when challenges inevitably arise. We develop confidence in our ability to handle adversity, which paradoxically increases our overall sense of well-being. 8. External success doesn't guarantee inner peace. Our society often equates success with happiness, but the Stoics understood that external achievements don't necessarily lead to inner contentment. This disconnect is a major source of the happiness paradox, as many successful people find themselves unsatisfied despite their accomplishments. Marcus Aurelius, despite being Roman emperor, wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This profound insight challenges the common belief that happiness comes from external sources. The pursuit of success can become a never-ending treadmill, with each achievement quickly replaced by a new goal. This constant striving can lead to chronic stress and dissatisfaction, as we're never quite where we think we should be. Moreover, basing our happiness on external markers leaves us vulnerable to circumstances beyond our control. Stoicism advocates for cultivating inner qualities, wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control, as the true sources of contentment. By focusing on developing our character rather than accumulating accolades or possessions, we create a more stable foundation for well-being. This shift in focus can lead to a more genuine and lasting form of happiness. 9. Acceptance, not avoidance, leads to peace. Many of us believe that eliminating negative experiences is the key to happiness. However, this approach often backfires, increasing our suffering. The Stoics understood that accepting reality, including its painful aspects, paradoxically leads to greater peace. Epictetus taught, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This radical acceptance doesn't mean passivity or resignation. Rather, it's about aligning ourselves with reality instead of constantly fighting against it. When we resist what is, we create inner tension and conflict. This struggle against reality is often more painful than the situation we're trying to avoid. By accepting things as they are, we free up energy to respond effectively rather than react emotionally. This doesn't mean we never work to change things, but we do so from a place of clear-seeing acceptance rather than denial or resistance. By embracing life in its totality, both pleasant and unpleasant aspects, we can find a deeper, more stable sense of peace and contentment. 10. Virtue is sufficient for happiness. In a world that often equates happiness with external circumstances, the Stoic idea that virtue is sufficient for happiness seems radical. Yet this principle offers a powerful antidote to the happiness paradox. Cicero, influenced by Stoic thought, wrote, "Virtue is sufficient for happiness." This doesn't mean that virtuous people never experience hardship or negative emotions. Rather, it suggests that living according to one's highest values provides a deep sense of fulfillment regardless of external circumstances. By making virtue our primary aim, we create a stable foundation for well-being that isn't dependent on fleeting pleasures or changing fortunes. We find satisfaction in doing what we believe is right, even when it's difficult. This approach frees us from the exhausting chase for external validation or perfect circumstances. Moreover, focusing on virtue gives us a sense of purpose and meaning that transcends our individual concerns. By striving to contribute to the greater good, we connect to something larger than ourselves. This sense of connection and purpose is a powerful source of genuine happiness. 11. The present moment is the key to contentment. Many of us believe happiness lies in the future, once we achieve a certain goal or acquire a particular possession. This future focus is a major contributor to the happiness paradox, as it keeps us always striving and never arriving. Seneca advised, "True happiness is to enjoy the present, without anxious dependence upon the future. This Stoic wisdom emphasizes the importance of being fully engaged with our current experience. By constantly projecting our happiness into the future, we miss the opportunity to appreciate what's right in front of us. This creates a cycle of perpetual dissatisfaction, as we're never fully present in our lives. We're always chasing after the next thing, never allowing ourselves to fully enjoy what we have. Stoicism encourages us to focus on the present moment, doing our best in whatever task is at hand. This mindful approach allows us to find satisfaction in the process of living, rather than always deferring it to some imagined future. We can discover a richness in our daily experiences that we might otherwise miss. 12. Externals are indifferent. One of the most paradoxical aspects of Stoic philosophy is the idea that external things, wealth, status, even health, are indifferent with regard to true happiness. This doesn't mean they have no value, but that they're not essential for a good life. Epictetus explained, "Some things are in our control, and others not. Things in our control are opinion, pursuit, desire, aversion, and in a word, whatever are our own actions. Things not in our control are body, property, reputation, command, and, in one word, whatever are not our own actions." This principle challenges our usual way of thinking about happiness. We often believe that if we just had more money, a better job, or perfect health, we'd be happy. But the Stoics argue that these externals, while potentially preferred, aren't necessary for contentment. By focusing on what's truly in our control, our judgments, actions, and attitudes, we free ourselves from the tyranny of external circumstances. We can find satisfaction in doing our best and living according to our values regardless of outcomes. This shift in perspective can lead to a more stable and authentic form of happiness. The paradox of social connection. In our hyper-connected world, we often assume that more social interaction leads to greater happiness. However, the Stoics understood that the quality of our relationships, not the quantity, is what truly matters for well-being. Seneca observed, "Alone is often the best way to be with people." This seemingly paradoxical statement highlights the importance of maintaining a strong sense of self amidst social connections. Constantly seeking external validation or companionship can actually increase feelings of loneliness and dissatisfaction. The happiness paradox emerges here when our efforts to connect more lead to shallower relationships. We might have hundreds of online friends, but feel deeply isolated. The Stoic approach emphasizes cultivating meaningful connections while also developing comfort with solitude. By finding balance between social engagement and self-reliance, we can avoid the pitfalls of both isolation and codependency. This approach allows for deeper, more authentic relationships while maintaining our inner peace and self-sufficiency. 14. Amor Fati, love of fate. Perhaps the ultimate Stoic antidote to the happiness paradox is the concept of Amor Fati, love of fate. This principle encourages us not just to accept what happens to us, but to embrace it wholeheartedly. Epictetus advised, "Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well." This radical acceptance goes beyond mere resignation to actively embracing whatever life brings. Amor Fati doesn't mean we never work to improve things. But it does mean we stop fighting against reality as it is. We learn to see challenges as opportunities for growth, setbacks as chances to develop resilience. By loving what is, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from constantly wishing things were different. This principle offers a profound shift in perspective. Instead of dividing experiences into good and bad, we see everything as part of our unique journey. This acceptance allows us to engage more fully with life, finding meaning and growth in all of our experiences. It's a path to a deeper, more sustainable form of contentment that transcends the usual ups and downs of fortune. If you have made it this far, comment down below with the word 100% to confirm that you have received the knowledge from this video. For more interesting topics, make sure you watch the recommended video that you see on the screen right now. Thanks for watching.